You ever look at someone and wonder, how did they do that? How do they build such an incredible life? Well, a lot of the time, the secret isn't some huge dramatic event. It's actually hidden in these tiny, consistent actions they take every day. And today, we're going to dive into a story that shows just how powerful that really is.
But before we get into the story, let's start with a big question. It's one I'm sure we've all asked ourselves. Why is it that some people with all the talent, all the opportunity in the world, just get stuck? And then you see others who seem to achieve amazing things. What's the difference? Well, as we're about to see, the answer is usually way simpler than you think. It's not about genius and it's not about luck.
All right, so to really get this, let's meet the star of our story. His name is Arav, and he's a young boy from a small town in India called Chandanpur. So meet Arav. On paper, this kid has it all. He's smart, he's got these huge dreams, he imagines himself becoming this super important, admired person. But, and it's a big but, he's got this one little problem. He's incredibly lazy. He'd much rather just dream about success than actually do the work to get there.
And this really shows you the massive gap in Arav's world, right? On one side, you've got these epic dreams of glory. He's picturing himself giving speeches, walking into big fancy offices. But then, you look at his actual day-to-day life. What's he doing? Sleeping late, flying kites, playing cricket. There's just this huge disconnect between what he wants and what he does. Okay, so this is where things start to change. Like in all the best stories, a mentor shows up, someone who has the key, the one thing that can help unlock all that potential Arav has.
And that mentor is Gopal Kaka. Now this guy is a retired army officer, and he's basically the exact opposite of Arav. His whole life is built on discipline. We're talking every single morning before the sun is even up, he's awake, going through this simple, deliberate routine. He's basically consistency in human form.
So one day, Arav sees him and asks, why do you do the same thing every single day? And Gopal Kaka gives him this piece of advice that just clicks. It changes everything for Arav. He says, habits are like seeds. What you plant today will grow tomorrow.
And that right there is the key. That's what a habit is, really. It's not some huge, earth-shattering thing you do once. Nope. It's just a small action, something you repeat over and over and over again. And over time, all those little actions add up. They compound, and they're what ultimately decide where you end up, for better or for worse.
Something about what Gopal Kaka said really hit home for Arav. It was like a light bulb went off. He realized that success wasn't about waiting for some big moment of inspiration to strike. It was just about showing up every single day. And so he decides to take what is always the hardest part of any journey, that very first step.
And so, the very next morning, he does it. He forces himself out of bed before sunrise. And I'm sure you can imagine, his body is just screaming at him, go back to sleep! But he doesn't listen. He pushes through all that resistance, that really uncomfortable feeling you get when you're doing something totally new.
And check out how simple his new routine is. This is key. It's not some crazy, complicated plan. He starts with just one thing. Wake up early, go for a run. That's it. Then, a week later, he adds another small habit. Study for just 1 hour a day. See? He's not trying to change his entire life in 24 hours. He's just planting a couple of small, manageable seeds. And this, right here, is where the magic starts to happen. Those small things he's doing every day, they start to build on each other. They compound. And suddenly, they're turning into real, actual change that you can see.
I mean, look at this timeline. It shows that compounding effect perfectly. Day 1 of his run, he's totally out of breath after just a short distance. Fast forward 4 weeks, he's feeling a little stronger. And then, 6 months in, it's not even a struggle anymore. That discipline has just become natural. It's part of him.
And of course, his friends start to notice. They're like, Arav, what happened? What's your secret? They're expecting some big, complicated answer. But Arav's explanation is just so simple and so perfect. He says, I didn't do anything crazy. I just repeated a few small actions every single day until they weren't actions anymore. They just became me.
So Arav has slowly built this foundation of discipline, brick by tiny brick. But now comes the real test. This is the moment where all that quiet, behind-the-scenes work is about to be put in the spotlight.
A notice goes up in town for a really competitive scholarship. And guess what it tests? Both physical endurance and academic skill. The two exact things Arav has been working on, quietly,
every single day. So while all the other kids started to panic, Arav, he was calm. He didn't need to panic. His habits had already done the hard work for him.
Okay, let's look at how it played out. This chart really tells the whole story. During the fitness test, a bunch of the other kids just sprinted right out of the gate, full of adrenaline, but they burned out fast. Arav, though, he just kept a steady pace. He let all those months of daily running do the work, and in the end, he finished way stronger than almost everyone else.
And it was the exact same story with the written exam. You can see the huge difference in approach here. On one side, you have the other students totally freaking out, trying to cram everything in at the last possible second. But on the other side, you have Arab. He had spent an hour every single day for months just building this solid foundation of knowledge. For him, there was no need to cram. It was all there. So, of course, Arav wins the scholarship. And when he goes to tell Gopal Kaka the good news, his mentor gives him one last really important piece of wisdom. He says that motivation, it's great. It's what gets you started. But motivation comes and goes. It's the habits you build that keep you going on the days when that motivation just isn't there.
Arav's story is so powerful because, think about it, he's not a superhero. He's just a normal kid who accomplished something amazing using a really simple process. And the best part is, that same process is available to every single one of us. So let's bring this back to you. What's your first step going to be?
And just look at how small these first steps can be. Seriously, we're not talking about running a marathon tomorrow. We're talking about reading, 5 pages of a book? Going for a 10-minute walk? Doing 10 push-ups? These are your seeds. They might seem like nothing, they might feel insignificant, but trust me, they are the starting point for huge, massive change.
And if there's one thing to take away from Arav's entire journey, it's this. You don't have to be extraordinary to get extraordinary results. You just have to be consistent. You just have to show up every day and take that one small, simple step forward. So I'm going to leave you with a question to chew on. After seeing Arav go from being a lazy dreamer to this incredibly disciplined achiever, what's it going to be for you? What small seed, what tiny new habit are you going to plant today?